Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Hey champions, thank you for joining us on The Champion Within. You are in for a really good treat today. I met Namcy through LinkedIn. Not exactly sure if I requested her, she requested me. I don't know how that happens sometimes. I'm on the different platforms and I like to find people that align with me and the work that I do in the mindset world. I jumped on a call with Namcy before the holidays. She and I were just talking about all sorts of different things. I think I was taking notes. I learned so much from her. At the end, she and I both were saying this would be a great podcast conversation. And I said, sure, after the holidays, if you want to book. And she said, let's book it now. I said, I love this woman. Let's do this. Let's get it on the calendar. She is going to drop epic wisdom with you today about her sports journey a little bit, mindset. There's going to be all the things. So make sure you sit back, maybe get your pen ready. You're probably going to take some notes like I did and steal her wisdom. Namcy, thank you for jumping in and having this conversation today. How are you?
You're the best, Kate. I'm great. I am just so excited about a new year, new beginnings. I'm not a big New Year's resolution person, but this year has got a vibe of hopefulness, optimism, prosperity. I don't know. I'm along for the ride.
I love that. I'm the same, actually. I don't necessarily make resolutions. The past couple years, I probably saw this somewhere. I make a list of things, almost like a bucket list of, all right, let me just do this. I make a list of 24 things, put it in my notes, and I forget about it. I don't go back and look at it. So I did it again this year. I'm sitting there on New Year's Day. I'm like, I think I did that last year. I went back and I looked. I said, oh, some of this I totally forgot about, didn't do it. Some of it I crushed. I was like, look at me, killed that one. And some of it I was like, what was I thinking? So I did the same for this year, made that list and put it in my notes. I'll probably look at it if I'm here, but I don't necessarily have that New Year's resolution. They've done some research. 80% of people quit whatever that resolution is by that second Friday in January. Yes. So maybe we're, good that we didn't put something out there. Who knows? But tell my audience, Namcy, just a little bit. You have so much to give here. Tell them a little bit about what you are doing right now, and then we'll kind of jump into, a little bit of your journey.
Sure. I am so blessed the last 20 years, way before it was sexy, being a coach, really a mindset coach, helping people get their head in a space. My sweet spot is helping those that are navigating high stress, rapid fire environments where they breathe back into what they're doing, their purpose, their passion, but not compromising their ability to peak perform and be productive. There's, mindset is everything. And actually along the lines with who your audience is and what your podcast is about. Athletes know this. They know their mind is a good bit of their talent. It's really helping to reconnect people and empower people to lead their life from the inside out. So really harnessing the power of what they have within that pushes them beyond. And again, they know this from being an athlete when they had to kick it into that gear that doesn't even exist. And they, in a real world situation, but then they just go over into that gear. This is what we're talking about. And I get passionate about leading, not only speaking on this in corporate wellness programs and retreats and leadership development, but also my one-on-one, just, I'm blessed to have created a trademark methodology that I take people through. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years.
I love it. We are definitely going to tap into that framework that you do because I know my listeners are going to be able to steal some of that. The part that I love, and people who have been following for any amount of time, that inside out job.
Yeah.
I say that for myself. It's an inside out job. It really is when you do that mindset work. And
Yeah.
that can be tricky when you're helping people in the beginning because they can't see,
Right.
but once they work with you or, any type of mindset person, they get it. It's almost that light bulb moment and they say, "Oh, I get it now, that inside
Yes.
out job." It
Yes.
really is so transformative. And I think that it's a game changer, like you said, for athletes and, in the corporate space. And when you can lean on those tools and use them when you need to level up as an athlete and just having them can
Exactly.
change everything. So,
Yeah.
and the trick there is though, you can't use it only in that moment
No.
thinking, "Oh, I really wish I had mindset right now." It's something that you have to practice and learn before those high pressure situations. Let's go back a little bit. When we were on our chat before the holidays, we talked about so many different things. You told me a little bit about the dance team, and I will fully admit that I'm not super familiar with, I know what the dance teams do, but I'm not really familiar with, being a part of a dance team. So tell me about that for you, and did mindset play a role? And does it still impact your journey now?
Yeah. So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Dance teams were really big for us in the state of Georgia. I'm going to blanket and say the South, but I'm not for certain. University of Georgia has a very strong one as well. My high school was known for winning awards at the camps that we went to. We were known for the amazing talent and princes we would put on at halftime shows. We had a blend of dancing, kind of like the Rockettes,
Mhm.
and they called it military. So it was very what we called peel offs, where you see those people that do all those, like, it looks like dominoes falling down, all this, but it was very precise, very robotic. And so you had to be, and it was to music. So you had to be on point with your sense of rhythm,
Right.
you know. So there was a lot that went in, and they started grooming you. I mean, we had a B team, we had a varsity,
Okay.
and I danced all my life. So growing up, went into this arena because I loved music, loved dancing from the time I was first grade. I was in a talent show, all this kind of stuff. And you start, your parents go, "Oh, Nancy really likes to do this." So,
Right.
you start doing what, "Oh, I'm naturally good at this," right? I really thrived in this environment, and I didn't even realize I craved that discipline. I craved
Mhm.
we had to learn these certain, again, they were military, they were numbered, and they were certain positions, just like dance positions. When you're trying out, they would call these numbers out, and you were to do it, and you had to memorize, and everything had to be pristine. And then you would perform in the tryout with a group of like 4 women. It was very serious, and you'd see girls cry when they
Mhm.
didn't make the team. There'd be lots of women coming out, and you had a team of 30 that would get picked. So it was crazy. I would say there was at least 60 people that came out.
Wow.
And big high schools, so public high schools and stuff like that. So I loved it. I thrived. The camps were grueling because in Georgia in August, it's
Mhm.
oppressive.
Sure.
You are out there standing at attention like a military thing, and they are teaching you not to break attention. So you'd have people drop like flies because
Wow.
they would pass out. They would, and you're constantly having water breaks. But, so the heat played a very big, important role. You were in cabins that didn't have central air. They just had screens that you lifted. If it was raining, you close this thing down, and, you lift. I mean, they were primitive. It was,
Right.
you go to the end of the street, the dirt road to the bathhouse to take, so it was very primitive. We would have all kinds of awards. We were expected to come back with awards from that camp. And it meant,
So
I
were
mean,
you with, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Were you with your school?
correct,
So
correct.
your whole team,
The
if you
whole team.
made the team went to camp?
Yep.
Okay.
and you got ready for the season, and you would
Gotcha.
use maybe some of the things that you learned in camp. And then there was a preparatory before going to camp, because you didn't show up there not organized, because
Mm,
people are watching for these awards constantly.
okay.
And, again, can't be fighting with your teammates. Can't be, you've got, even though you don't like this, all that dynamic, you got 30, girls in high school, not necessarily liking each other.
Sure,
Um,
that's a lot.
that's
Yeah.
a lot. So, it was intense. And again, looking back now in my life, I loved that was my element of competitiveness. Then I would push myself. You would have individual awards. They called them super snapper or all these kind of individual. And my goal was to walk away with those individuals, because we had a big, just like you would in the auditorium of the awards of the basketball team, the
Mhm.
football team, we had one that had all of our awards, and you wanted your name listed. I mean, that's, maybe not everybody, but I did, it was like,
Okay.
so you're, pushing yourself individually, and you're pushing, you want the team to succeed. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was loads of fun. I did walk away with a few, and again, it's that mindset. Now, when I look back, it's like I remember one performance I really resonated with, and I said, "This is the one I'm going to shine. I'm going to stand out in these 30 women, and I'm going to get this award." And I did. And it, I remember the tune. I don't know if again, I'm going to date myself. There's a song called "Knock on Wood." Um,
Okay.
better knock, knock, knock on wood.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I can hear it in my head. I can see myself. I can feel like I can put myself right back there. Yeah.
Oh, there's so many things I wanna pull from this. Let's start at one. I think that there's a lot to learn from this journey. And it reminds me, I work with some cheer teams. I was
Yes.
not a cheerleader, but I work with some cheer teams. And it reminds me of cheer camp that they go to and
Yep.
cheer competitions almost here locally. Really, I think all over the place, but here in the Philadelphia area anyway, it sounds very similar because they go to camps and different things in the summer usually. I'm
Yeah.
thinking back now. And it sounds very much like that.
Yes. I
So,
would. I would agree. I would agree.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
similar. All right. The one thing you said, which I have a lot of parents of athletes that listen and coaches who are both, parents sometimes and a coach. I heard you say something about, well, my parents said, "Oh, Nancy, you're so good at this. Nancy loves to dance." And that happens sometimes in athletics for a lot of reasons. Maybe someone does see something
Yes.
in their own child, or maybe they were in,
Yes.
the dance team and part of the camps or something, or they wanted to be and didn't make the team. I'm curious, not necessarily your
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
but I'm curious your take on that with either the dance team or in general. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, hands down. I can think of a few on my team that parents lived through their child and really did. I don't know their backstory. I don't know, like, if that parent didn't make the team and she really wanted, but I can, in my head, immediately after all these years, think of a few.
Yeah.
And I did not have that experience. My parents were older. I was an oops baby. Like I mentioned, I was in a talent show. I came home and said I wanted to try out in second grade to make this talent show.
Gotcha.
And they were like, well, okay, so this person automatically wants to perform in front of people. And I very comfortable doing it. I was a professional cheerleader in the professional league for our soccer team back, when I got older.
Gotcha.
Um, so that's why when you said that, I thought, yeah, it goes right in alignment.
Oh, okay.
It's not
Okay.
the
I didn't know that about
cheerleading.
the cheerleading with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But a different type of cheer, very gymnastics oriented. My parents fed me. They were very good about uplifting and feeding the little girl that wanted to do that. So I
I
was
love that.
blessed to build confidence in myself because they were my biggest cheerleaders, right?
Right.
They really, but at the end of the day, I could tell they were tired, and oh my God, I got to drive to one more thing and I got to take her to one more thing, but they sucked it up, Buttercup, and they took me and, and
I feel that. That's so funny.
yeah.
That's
So I
yeah.
knew I was the last, and they would go and sit and it would, the elements or whatever. My mom had bad knees and arthritis, things going, neuropathy. And she would come and it would be raining. And then the next day she would pay for it, right? Her body would hurt.
Mm.
But they would come and support because we were expected to dance even if it's pouring. I'm blessed it wasn't Pennsylvania winter, but it was cold and you had these shorts and
Yeah.
oh, yay.
Too funny. You have me thinking back. My son, who is in college now, in first grade, he came home and said, his first grade teacher, Miss Hurwitz, he said, Miss Hurwitz told us that there is a talent show. And if we have a talent, that we should be in it. And myself, as a former athlete and knowing, my
Right.
son, who was a first grader at the time, he was very much involved in sports and things like that. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess he wants to be in the talent show. Well,
Yeah. Right.
I'm surprised by this, but I said, oh, okay, Danny, what do you want to do in the talent show? He said, well, I'm an awesome basketball player. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure. What did Miss Hurwitz say that you could do in the talent show? She said, if you have a talent, you need to show it off. And I said, okay, so what are you planning on doing? He said, I'm bringing a basketball up on that stage and I am going to do dribbling tricks.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, you know what? You can do that. So
Exactly.
I, at the time, was a health and phys ed teacher, and there was a really popular song called Basketball. And it was like Little Bow Wow. There was a clean version for kids. And I used to use it. I was at the elementary school at that time teaching. I would use it, ironically, as my warm up with my students. And because it was just a really popular song, the kids loved it. So I said to him, you could use this song. The whole song was playing basketball. And I helped him. He developed this dribbling routine where he was dribbling under his legs, all of these things. And he practiced in the basement. He went to the practices. Every other kid at this talent show was singing and dancing and being very theatrical. And Danny came full looking like a kid who plays basketball in like
Right.
his sporty outfit and had his basketball. We had the music teacher at the school for me that I worked at. She was amazing, got his song on a CD at the time that we had to submit to the music teacher at his elementary school. And he only did one talent show because afterwards he said, Mom, I'm not really sure if talent shows are for kids going up and showing off their sports stuff because nobody else did that. And I said, well, that's okay, but you wanted to do that. And he said, I think everybody thought it was cool. I said, I liked it.
Exactly.
And we were really just impressed as a first grader that he wanted to go up and do this in front of everybody. And we didn't want to discourage it. But I was never in that world of, being on stage and things like that.
Yeah.
Ironically, I do that now as a speaker, but to this day, he is still dribbling a ball everywhere he goes. But yeah, so pretty.
And it was
funny.
really cute. I remember trying out, and then they were trying to pack in, this is my interpretation, as many, a lot of people came out. And so they're trying to figure out how to put everyone on stage. My elementary school went all the way up to 7th grade, and there was no middle school. And they had a band, a rock band, these boys. And so they played some Beatles songs. I danced. So I had this little, I'm a kid of this, 70s. And it was those vests that have the little things that hang down. And when you go like that, it shakes.
Right. The fringes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a hippie vest. So it was those big, wide, like suede. This was suede. And then these big, wide.
Nice. You were looking good.
I
I
was
love
looking, yeah. And I had my little go-go boots, those things that came up to the knees. And I think they've even made a rebound now. And,
right.
But, and so I'm dancing to this band, and they just loved it. We went to senior facilities and took our little show on the road. Like
wow.
Those that were in the top talent went to these senior facilities and performed, or synagogues or churches or whatever. It was great. And
that's fun.
Yeah. So my parents immediately went, wow, this girl's not afraid of performing.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, I mean, it makes sense with what you do now. You and I talk, so you're out of companies presenting and doing things. So really a lot of that has carried over. I talk a lot with people that, that mindset of things, whether it was their athletic journey or whatever they did, it stays with them.
Yes.
Before we even move to what you do now, I heard you say a couple other things, when it was really hot and you had to deal with that. Were there anything, maybe you didn't know at the time that it was mindset tools
Yes.
per
Yes.
se, but do you remember either you doing something or coaches or something that you did on purpose to help you get through those tough times as a member of the dance team?
Yeah, I definitely think it's neat because when you start reflecting on as I grew older, I had a discipline. I had a tenacious side that would
Mm.
persevere. My dad fought in World War II, and he used to say I was very similar to him in that regard because they would come up and see the performances and knew how much work we put in to making those. And he would go, "Wow, Nancy," and then I'd get these awards, and we would talk about it. And so I do believe like those times we were standing at attention, and I remember really having talking about that wall, and you're hitting that wall and just going, there is no wall, there is no wall, there is no wall, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, didn't have any idea. Now my dad was very much a positive thinker. When he retired, he bought a license plate that said happy. That's what
Oh,
it was cute with our team, Auburn Tigers, and whatever you buy those things you can, and happy.
I
So
love it.
even, yes, even in the midst, I mean, he was always a very optimistic, positive influence in my life. He was not negative, and we didn't have some kind of storybook life. I mean, he had bad bosses. He would come home. He was very transparent. He would talk to my mom about that, and we'd be at the dinner table, but he was never negative. It was always, how am I going to navigate this situation?
Mm.
Because I've been dealt something that's very difficult. And so I think when you just look back, it's neat. And I think they were a very positive influence. And he would use the words persevere, tenacity. Those were words I learned very early because he kept saying, you have it. You have it. These are where people are a great influence on you when you're
Mhm.
young. And I was very fortunate that they built me up and didn't tear me down. I just kept going, I must, but I knew innately because I do remember the girl that was tough, passing out. I remember giving her my water and thinking, oh, great. Now I'm going to, why, what am I
Yeah.
going to do? But recognizing she needed it more than I did, or saw her getting white in the face, like the girl standing next to me. But again, we're performing as a team, man. You drop, we're done. We're going to,
Right.
right? So here, let's take one for the team. I don't need the water. You need the water. Right. And because we had those big old things, and then they would, whenever you had your break, you'd go over the hose and fill it back up. I didn't have the skill set that I have now and what I can impart on people. But I think I'm very fortunate that I'm not working against myself. Now, I've had a lot of people that had negative and were never built up by their parents. Not, it
Mm.
is good, better, and it's not. Again, we don't throw them under the bus. We just say, okay, well, this is what I want. This is what I can hear in my head. And how do I push back those self-doubt, that desire to be perfect, perfectionism, right? Oh, I'm going to challenge you. The only reason I never complimented it because I wanted to get more out of you, like this mentality that these, people that were
Mm.
strong performers. I can think of a football player guy whose dad just kept pushing and pushing, but he could have used a little praise. Could have used a little praise, right? But
Right. Yeah. It's all about balance.
yeah,
It's ironic. I was just talking with someone who talking about her own child saying he just feels like there's a lot of pressure to be perfect.
yes,
She had to remind him, I'm not perfect. Whatever the voice is, the thoughts creeping through his brain, thinking, I have to do this perfectly. You do need that praise occasionally and reminder. Just so you know, most of us aren't getting this
no,
right. You were saying, even though you didn't have a skill set, I heard you numerous times say things that you learned from your parents, and even giving that water to your teammate, that in itself was something you gained from being there and being for the betterment of the team, what is good for the whole group, a
yes,
skill that stays with you. Maybe it's not necessarily handing water off to someone, or maybe it is,
yeah,
but
Right.
when you're working with other people in different situations or teaching other people
Exactly.
how to work with other people.
Exactly.
That just is a skill that you gain in those
It
situations. So,
is. People, you also, I think we innately know this, but the one thing that I would say for anyone, don't be reticent about offering, because actually when so even like I can think of a girl who was ready to go home. She was homesick because
mm,
we would go away for a week at this camp, and there was no interaction with your family. You're there and you're there to get, do this thing and everything. And she got extremely homesick. And again, I remember wanting to go home, but knowing it's not an option. It's
right.
like, right? The weather was bad and, or something. It was lightning storm. Oh, we used to get, tornado warnings and stuff. And they would sound these horns and it would scare you. I mean,
Sure.
yeah. But you just persevere. I remember talking to her and telling her, I got you. I got you. Now, I have no idea. And I was, an oops baby. So I'm the last of this. It wasn't like I had a sibling I was doing that.
Right.
But when I did that, I seemed to give myself a sense of relief because you're hearing what you're saying. It's like, wow, I need to be taking that in. So like, because I
Sure.
wanted to be going home. And as soon as I was saying it to Lynn, if I could feel everything that I'm telling her, I need to hear myself. So
Right.
I think there's something to be gained there when we do that for somebody else, whether it's a team member, whether it's whatever it is. If you just offer it because you're going to actually see you're going to have a positive, it's going to have a positive effect on your inner landscape,
So
your inner,
true.
right?
Yeah, I love that. It's easier to give to other people than
Yes.
to ourselves. We're much tougher on ourselves, our own harshest critic in
Yes.
many cases. You definitely can feel that. I often say that to my own kids when you're kind to other people,
Yes.
you're doing it not just to say I'm kind, but
Right.
you do feel good about
Yes.
it when you're kind to other people.
Yes.
And then you can say, when you say to Lynn, your friend,
Yes.
I got you. You're hearing that too, and I
Yes.
got you to yourself, it's
Yes.
like, "We can do
And
this."
and you know what I'm gonna add? She was not a friend. No, that's
Oh, okay.
what I meant to even that's probably why it had I just remembered she needed it. She was in a different group.
Oh, wow, that makes it even more powerful.
Yeah. And just going outside that comfort zone and just thinking, I'm gonna say it, even though she might say, stick to your own kind, stick to your group, because in high school you got all these little cliques or whatever,
Sure.
right? She totally embraced it. You're in this team mentality, like, okay, Lynn, you gotta put your big girl pants on, man. We got a job to do, and kind of stepping over. And we were in some type of like barracks, like that mess hall.
Okay.
She was sitting at her table, I was sitting at my table, my
Right.
friends, and you see this forlorn face. And I think they were all leaving, something, and I walked out and was just giving her the pep talk and thinking, okay, she could either tell me to pound salt or she could be open to receiving it. And that's that reticence. Sometimes we won't cross that line unless it's really comfortable to us. And I
Mhm.
encourage people to cross that line because you don't know, you will have a positive impact on somebody. You might not, they really don't want to hear from me. They really,
Right.
right? But
I think people tend to hold back and think, "I don't wanna get involved. I don't wanna say
yes,
anything."
yeah,
I understand that viewpoint because some people
yes,
maybe Lynn would, say something back like, "Who are you to tell
right.
me how I should behave?"
Mhm.
But I challenge you, my listeners, just like Nancy is challenging you, what if Lynn really did need that
Right,
and you held back?
right,
I think it's better to just say, "Okay, guess Lynn didn't really need that."
right,
You can handle that response. If she's like, "Who are you?" Just, "All right, Lynn, take it,
right,
leave it." But I think so many people, I say that because I am the person like you, Nancy, to notice
yeah,
someone
yeah,
and I will say, "Are you good?" If it's another
right,
mom at Target and somebody's having a rough day. This happened, I was in line with my daughter and she's a 16-year-old now. A mom in front of me had 3 kids, very similar to the ages of my kids, but she was at a different path or a different moment in life. But I had been in that moment before where it was
Yeah.
my 3 kids, where the youngest was climbing out of the cart. That was my youngest guy. And in my brain, I was thinking, wow, that youngest is way better behaved than my youngest would have been. He would have jumped out of the cart, probably pulled the fire alarm and
Right.
rung up some things for himself and stole a candy bar in the process, you know. And this mom looked, you know, embarrassed, frazzled, and I said, "You're doing a great job." And she's like, "You think?" You know, and
Right.
I could tell. And you know, just to say like this too shall pass, and I pointed to my daughter saying, you probably don't believe it, but I had 3 of yours and this is the middle one. we
Right.
we made it. You
Right.
know, I'm curious to ask you, Nancy, now in the work that you do and just out in everyday life, like when I'm at Target, do you find that you notice people like the Lynn
Yeah.
situation still because you do that mindset work? Like, I notice it, and I don't know
Yes.
if it's just who I am or because the mindset work, but do you notice that for yourself that you pick up on that vibe people are putting out?
Absolutely. And I will say what you have to really do, because it's what I do, is that I have to be really aware of unsolicited,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you have, I'm not giving full carte blanche, go and tell, I got one the other day, this guy who's a coach, um, you know, gave me some unsolicited advice on LinkedIn. I didn't agree with it.
Right.
But I didn't say one iota. Thank you for the feedback. And that's it, because everybody's entitled to their thought. And then he went, wow, thanks so much, for not, meeting. And again, he thought he was in the right, whatever. It's
Mm,
not worth it.
no.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I went, in my head, Nancy, remember,
Mhm.
unsolicited advice. Don't give
Right.
it. And no, that was awesome. You're doing a great job. Like when she's looking like she's totally, but
Yeah.
when we want to go and fix, which I'm a fixer, you just got to be like, I mean, we're not even talking to strangers, even your kids, your sister, your brother, your spouse, they know what you do for a living.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're like, okay, is this one? And then I'll say, may I offer, you know, it's like something for your consideration.
Right. I use I say, "Do you want to vent or do you want some advice?" And then
Yeah.
I just have to let them have what they say
Yeah.
to me. I let them have that because I too am a fixer, and I think if they would just do, you know, in my brain, I'm thinking if, you know, especially my
Yes.
own kids, you know, or
Yes.
my husband sometimes, especially when he's coaching athletes and different things. And I think, well, but I
Exactly.
don't want to give that unsolicited advice. I was at a baby shower recently, and I happened to be with a lot of people who were a good bit older than me. I was sitting at the table. I was a guest at this baby shower as a neighbor friend. I didn't really know a lot of people, but I loved the neighbor, and her daughter was having the baby. And when she came to talk to our table, the daughter, everyone started saying
Giving
all
her
these
advice.
things.
Exactly.
Right, and they're like, do this, make sure you don't do this." And I said, "You know what? You should just trust yourself." I said, "No offense, ladies. I think you probably all have a lot of great things to
Right.
offer." I said, "But you know best." And everyone got real quiet. And
Right.
I
They're like,
go, I thought to myself, well, nobody really knows me at this baby shower. So I could just be like, I got no advice for you. Do whatever you want. And she said to me later, thank you so much because, you know, it was just a lot. A lot. And
exactly.
people come from a place, well, not all people.
Yeah.
Sometimes on LinkedIn, some people aren't coming from a place of love. But I think people who know
Yes.
you come from a place of love with
Yes.
that advice and they don't realize. But ugh, if anyone listening can take some advice right now, if you want to steal something from this podcast, pause if you're giving
Exactly.
that unsolicited advice and think,
Exactly.
do they
Take a
want
breath and really think. When I got that, I sent him. So gosh, heaven forbid, watch him listen to this podcast,
right?
because he's going to know as soon as I give it up. But I have this video that I do for a happy birthday message. I love birthdays. They
I
are
love
like,
it.
I love it. So it's like may this, and I'm just like spewing. And he goes, this feels like a pitch slap. Okay. I thought,
So you
well,
sent him the video?
yeah, the happy birthday. And then at the bottom, it does go in. It's a landing page on my website.
Okay.
Because I've been doing it now 2
And
years.
it's LinkedIn, by the way.
Yeah,
It's business page.
exactly.
Anyway, just
Hello.
saying.
I have 16,000 some odd people. This is one time a year, maybe I get to touch them and maybe they go, oh my God, I need a presentation. I need this.
Sure.
This is how you do it.
Right.
I'm not- And okay, at the bottom, yes, click this link if you'd like to schedule a call.
Right.
Right? I felt it was a pitch slap. And I'm thinking, whoa. So if you don't know who I am, then
Mhm.
that's, because you're going to feel my vibe, man. It's
Yeah.
like somebody, and it's like, I did it with my iPhone. So it's not even,
Yeah.
but again, I just went, thank you for your feedback. But I'm thinking for all that, he's the one, all the other people. Oh my God, this is ingenious. This is
Right.
awesome. Thank you. I could feel the love. Da-da-da.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like, but again, it's like that reticence, right? It's that I
Yeah.
don't know where I touched him in that particular moment. Maybe I hit a trigger. Maybe
Yeah.
I hit, but again, it didn't, it was like, it rolled right off me. I
Mhm.
thought, no, in 2 years, I actually get more positive feedback than stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And like you said, he has the right to his opinion
he
and
does. And he
but
doesn't know me. He really doesn't. So he could think it was all an act.
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if you follow or look at my post, you can feel the genuine, and I even lead with, oh my God, I love birthday. Like I'm all about my birthday, man. My kids know, whoa, it's mom's birthday month. Whoa.
I love it. Birthday month. My dad does the same thing. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you know what? I often think when somebody sends something to me or doesn't get back to me or whatever, people will say, "Oh, well, are you worried about that?" And I think,
No,
"No. They're busy. They have something going on or that's their issue."
that's
Like I don't think like it's anything with me. I'm like, "Well, I'm just like,
yeah.
well, they're either not my people or they're,"
Right.
and it's just you have to do that because if not, you could get stuck in this like, "Oh, maybe I should stop doing the
Oh,
birthday messages."
yes.
No, like so many people love it. So and like you said, it's his thing
It's his
because
thing.
who knows, maybe he wasn't having a good birthday.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if you
And
think
then
that's an act and you couldn't feel the genuine, because
yeah,
there was no script. It was like literally hit this thing and just speak from the heart.
right.
Happy birthday. I hope this is the best, whatever. I can't remember. It's, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went, whoa, pitch slap.
Well, calling all coaches, teachers, and parents. Are you ready to help your student athletes level up their game in the classroom and athletically? On my podcast, we're always breaking down mindset training the right way. No fluff, just real tools that you can use to boost confidence, handle stress, and show up like a champion. I created something for you. It's actually 19 things. Stress busters for students. They're super quick and easy to learn. And don't worry, you don't need to do all 19. I just wanted you to have some options to see what you like best. Whether you're a teacher, coach, or a busy parent, maybe you hold a few of those titles. These will change the game for you and your students. Let's train smarter. After the episode, go grab it by tapping on the link in the show notes and I'll send it right to your email. I think this is a great place for us to go into what you do now because I think that authenticity is a huge piece of who you are. I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, and I truly meant it when we were talking, I was just so grateful for all that you shared with me. You really have been doing this for
Yeah.
an incredible amount of time that I am very new. I've done the teaching thing for 20 years, but going out and working with corporations and my clients, it's new for me. I just learned so much from you. And I think you're just authentic. And that to me is who I strive to be. I think that everyone could learn from that to steal just be you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that in itself, my athletes, my parents, my coaches, if we would stop trying to be other people or this is who
Yes.
we should be. And I'm not saying
Right.
you can't learn from
Right.
others. I think we can, but don't try to be someone you're not because that usually backfires and it's so much work and
Oh,
exhausting. Oh,
it's exhausting. Exactly.
Yeah, it really is. But and
These
in the
signs of self
beginning,
can't be whatever you're trying to be. Really put a pause on that because you
yeah.
are. I've learned that over the years
Yeah,
too.
when I
Yeah.
first left my teaching career in 2021, when I resigned and I was trying to navigate what exactly am I going to do in this business, that so many people were telling me this is the way you should do it and this is way and you can't do it this way. And I thought I got to do it the certain way. All the business
Exactly.
people are telling me. And when I finally leaned into this is what feels good. I am a teacher and this is how I'm going to do
Right.
things.
Right.
People still said to me, "You're not doing it the right way." Ironically, those same people now are coming to me saying, "How did you do that?"
Mhm.
It's interesting, but and I said, I'll tell you. I'm not going to gatekeep, but you don't want to do it the same way I did it
Whoa.
because you want to do it your way. But
Right.
anyway, I want you to share your framework.
Sure.
And within that, if you have any tips, I mean, I know there's a couple pieces of it. So if we want to go maybe one by one, any tips that maybe my coaches, my parents, my athletes, or just people in general, I have CEOs that I work with and their staff, they could steal from you. So
Yeah.
let's talk about
Well,
your framework.
so the framework that I'm in the midst of finalizing the registration is called Pathway to Inner Peace, featuring the 4R method. So the 4Rs are recognize, release, to rewire, to radiate your best self. And the tagline of my business is create a life you design, not one of default. So you can see right here, right now, I'm encouraging my people that are aligned with me to find that sense of inner peace and to create a life they design. And I use the 4Rs to achieve that. And these 4Rs, so as I mentioned, I've been in coach now for 20 years, but I've been on this journey for 27. So all the stuff that I was acquiring and gathering data and information and trainings and all this stuff and certifications helped me design this program. And I studied with 4 different doctors. And it's, but this is what I developed to keep it kind of brief. And I utilize mindset stuff like mindfulness, positive psychology, the study of energy. So understanding that everything is energy. This is a quote by Einstein. It's not woo woo or philosophy. It's science, right?
Right.
So really helping to educate people, putting all these pieces together, how they can rewire themselves to create a life they design instead of societal, instead of expectation. Because when we are trying to be inauthentic, we get way down by everything. So you are enough. You don't have to be perfect. And how do I capture all this? And, especially, so I work with a lot of executives and I tell them all the time, you got here because you had a passion, because you had a purpose. And many of these executives were ex-athletes. I mean, when
Right.
you have that kind of discipline and to accomplish whatever the athleticism that you accomplished. And when we're talking about this, it's not about wealth. It's about, you could own your own widget company, and whatever. I mean, but it's taking that mindset and really bringing it back to center,
Mm,
inside out work. So I really teach people to recognize awareness. I always say awareness is power. When you
mm.
see what you're doing, when you see the patterns that are unconscious, that are habitual, that might not serve, that's when you have the ability to release it and rewire it.
Right.
But you've got to first see it. And I think the vehicle of mindfulness, and I have to educate people because they all think they know what mindfulness is. And mindfulness is just being the observer with curiosity and non-judgment. So once you're able to
Absolutely.
sit in the movie seats and recognize, oh my God, there I go again, doing this routine that leads to this, or this unconscious, habitual, emotional state of being that creates these thoughts that create, okay, how do I get off this train? How do I stop the madness?
Mm.
And that's what I've created, and have created a lot of success and transformation. It's not hard. It's just that I give you the speed version so that you can actually implement what I teach very actionable, doable steps
I love that.
that don't require, you sitting in lotus position and chanting Om for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not,
many people think that. I'm glad you said that because I think that's what pushes people away from
yes.
mindset and mindfulness. They say, I can't do that.
No,
And
I
I
can't
said, you
meditate.
do what?
Right. And
you know?
it's like the Chicago Bulls. I mean, you could name a million. The
Yeah,
Olympics, the Olympic team, US Olympic. There are so many. It's not about meditation.
right.
It is about mindset. But you've got to be trained. It's not something that's going to be natural. And that's what I lead with. I tell people all the time, this is how we're wired. They're like, well, that's so messed up. And I'm like, well, our species survived because if you came out of the cave and you kept going to the right where the bear is, you'd be eaten alive. So of course you got fear because I can't go to the right and get berries because there's a bear over there.
Right.
So we're wired to be like, this
Sure.
primal fight flight thing. But you gotta recognize when you're doing that and when it's not necessary. Because you
What would
are
be a tip you would give if it would be like one thing, if you would tell somebody who's listening, where would you tell them to start? If they are like, I don't even know how to recognize that. Where would you
yeah,
suggest that they start with that recognize before, because they do have to release and go through all of that, but
right.
where would they start?
They start by just starting. This journey is not for the non-courageous. I usually lead with an exercise that helps dial them. Most people are disattached from their emotions because their emotions are uncomfortable and they're
Mhm.
unpleasant. They really don't know where their emotional set point is. Then I have people that tell me I'm very emotionally aware. Well, I want you to be emotionally aware from a mindful perspective. So there's that, but I wouldn't say let's go out on that and try that on your own because you're going to fail.
Right.
I mean, and I hate to say it that bluntly and negative.
Oh, it's honest though.
But it's honest.
Yeah, you need some guidance.
You need guidance. But if I was going to tell somebody to do, it's about dialing in to where your emotions, your thoughts, and your body is the best mind reader ever. Okay. So ultimately, I want to get you dialed in. And that is not going to make you soft. It's actually going to harness the power that's within. So I have to overcome belief system that I got here because I'm a badass.
Sure.
I got here because I'm a hard nose. It's like, no, I'm not making you soft. I'm actually going to make you much more productive.
Welcome to my world of working with athletes. It's like, we still want to win, right? It's like I have to get past that first because ironically, and I love my dad coaches, don't get mad at me, but they're like, do we have to sit in on this? I'm like, are you serious right now? And then I have to go and tell
I
them.
love it. It challenges you, right? That's what
Right.
jazzes you. Okay, I got a
Yeah.
hard nose in the audience.
Here we go.
Here we go. But I would say stop and just be aware. So it's STOP, the acronym. You stop, you take a breath or a series of breaths, and do your best to get in an observation, state of being. So you're observing and then purposely proceed. Stop, take a breath, observe, and purposely proceed.
I love that. I love that.
Just stop and bring awareness and stop the madness of the unconscious habitual. You have a lot to gain.
I think that's a great tip. I do think it's important that you had said in the beginning, you do need guidance because sometimes we think we can do this and you can do some of these things, practice breath work. And the goal is to learn from Namcy or whoever you work with that you can start to learn and have these tools in your back pocket.
Correct.
But you need to be guided through. I mean, I'm sure, Namcy, you've worked with people. I work with people because I walk the walk, as I know you do too. I'll fully admit this, that in the beginning of doing some things in my business as a teacher, I thought I can do everything by myself. I quickly learned that is the hard way to go. And you're not successful, you can do some of those things, but it takes a lot longer
Exactly.
and you are very stressed. You and
Yes.
sometimes give up and you don't have that accountability. So I think that it is important to remind people you can use stop and these techniques, but definitely pay attention to that part that
Yeah.
guidance
Yeah.
is really the key to that transformation because and the goal is not, that I have to hold your hand or Nancy hold your hand for the rest of your life. You need the guidance, that
You need
part.
guidance. And it cuts through, it gives you more of an accelerated path. Why suffer when you
Right.
can mitigate that suffering? Like I said, it's for the non courageous. So I tell people all the time, I'm going to give you tools and I'm going to expect that you won't even like, I give personalized recordings when I work one on one.
Mhm.
And I have a portal and they sign in. They've got all their materials right there to access. But I want you to be able to not go into the portal. I want you to remember how to do it without going, now, what was that again? What did that? Okay, right?
Right.
But at the beginning, turn me on, right? Listen to it. It's going to be 5 to 8 minutes. We're going to get in and out. But then you're going to go, ooh, I had a guy give me an example. He was having a panic attack, getting his hair cut. And he knew he couldn't get up out of the chair. I mean, it was like midway getting this, buzz or whatever it was. And he goes, I could hear your voice in my head.
Mhm.
And that's what I said. Perfect. That's where the liberation happens because now he's not having to turn me on. He literally did a technique in his head and pushed through that.
I'm
Right.
so glad you shared that because I was going to ask you, what is the transformation that your clients see? And I mean, that's perfect
Yeah.
that you will start to rewire your brain. And that client is a great example of yours that in your brain, you will start to say, I have a tool for this. You hear Nancy's voice. I can think of what I should do in this situation
Yeah.
and then lean on it and take action to do that. I love that. Nancy, where do people connect with you if they wanted to reach out either one to one or come have you speak at their corporation or maybe love their people in some way? How can they do
Yeah.
that?
Sure. I'd say the best way is go visit my website, awakenwithlight.com. So AwakenWithlight.com. And there's all types of free resources there. You can sign up for a call, but I'm also very active on LinkedIn, which we talked about. I have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram. Now that one's a little far reach for me. I go over there. I'm some there, but I wouldn't say that's my playground is LinkedIn and Facebook. Not my personal page, but Awaken with Light. Those are the other, and I have a YouTube channel as well with a lot of guidance videos and that kind of thing there.
Perfect. And what I'll do for all of my listeners is I will drop those links in the show notes so you can just go click right on them and connect with Nancy and go check out all of those resources. Definitely set up that call so you can get the guidance that you need. If you are not bringing this into your organization yet, I'm just going to say you are at a disadvantage and you need to give this to your people. It is an inside out job. We can't see inside someone's brain. You don't know if that employee is sitting in that barber chair
Right.
and needs that because chances are, especially if it's someone who is like the people I get to love a lot in, my workshops and one-to-one as the athletes. And even when I go out to corporations myself, if they've ever been an athlete, there's no way that they're telling you that they can't do something, and even if they're not an athlete, they're probably not saying, hey, guess what? I can't handle this.
Right.
But when you bring mindset in, it changes things for everyone in a unique way. Make sure you connect with Nancy. I want to make sure I tell you that. I don't want to forget to go tell people to
Yeah.
click on
And
those
can I mention one other thing? When they go
Sure, yeah.
to my website, I put a lot of love this past year into it. And my corporate services page, so the tabs or my corporate service, you are going to see the ROI. So I literally had a person do research and give me the data and the research behind why they would want to bring somebody like me into their company.
Love it.
And then there's a printable document that if you have to go and present your case of why I need to put this in the budget or pay for a person to come in and do this.
Yeah,
Because I
you
thought,
made your job so easy,
oh,
Nancy. Good for you, woman. That's the
I
way
was
to
like,
go.
I am tired of trying to, sell this thing.
Let's
Like,
streamline it. I love it for that. Yeah, honestly, that's what people want. People who
right,
are listening right now, I guarantee, because I get to work with and I love all of them, the event planners and different people who follow. I actually had a great event planner on my podcast, probably season 2 now, before I was even really talking with people in the athletics world. I know that they look for people and it is a busy place. Print that sucker out and put it on the desk of whoever needs to sign off and say,
right.
"Here we go."
Here we
I
go.
love
This
it.
is why I want to bring this in here. Right.
Yeah, great idea. I'm glad you mentioned that. And you're not done yet, by the way. I have a question that I ask everyone. So, if you had the opportunity to either go back in time or forward just for one day, because we think you're amazing, we don't want you, spending your whole time in this place. Where are you going to go in your life and what are you going to do for that one day?
Well, so counterintuitive to living in the present moment, which
Very true. I am still a fan of that.
no,
You
I
know,
love it. But I had to chuckle because I forgot to say mindfulness is being the observer with curiosity, non-judgment of the present moment, right?
yes.
But I did give, when you said, here's one question that you can think about before you're on the spot, right? I went so many different places. I have 2 beautiful children. The birth of them, fabulous. I thank God, knock on wood, they weren't traumatizing births. But I would honestly say, so I am divorced and remarried. My second marriage, we got married on a beach. My cousin officiated. And if I could, and again, remember, I'm talking about mindset and I'm talking about an emotional set point. That day was so amazing. My first, of course, I loved, I'm young. I loved my first marriage. Like, that day was gorgeous. I had the big gown on. I'm walking through the church. I'm doing the whole thing. But the reason why I loved that one was because I got to bring the woman that is here and now. And I'm going to have my 10-year wedding anniversary this
Oh,
year.
congratulations.
Thank you. And it was a small wedding. It was just our immediate family because we're blended, very big blended family. He had 5 children. I have 2. And then spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends. So we kept it to our immediate family and then our parents and stuff like that. Everyone felt it was like the energy was palpable. Even the wedding planner who does this for a business and all she was trying to do is get the chair set up on the beach and make sure the timing of the sunset and all the whole. And she goes, oh my God. It was like the energy of just pure love and just intent. So again, I go back to that. I tell people all the time, what is something you can hang your hat on that you felt really good inside? And that is a good inside feeling. My son walking me down from the ramp that went into the beach and we're barefoot and, the whole thing. It was such a fabulous feeling. So that's where I would say.
I love it. I love it. That sounds like an amazing day to re-experience. And, it's interesting. I changed this last question. It used to be a life swap, which, honestly, I just kind of make these things up as I go along with the podcast. But I was like, I'm all about being in the present moment, but I also think, let me reflect.
Yes.
And I am always curious to see if people go back or forward,
Yeah.
and yeah. So, but I love that one. And I think that it would be just really nice for you to relive all that. It sounds like I felt like I was there when you were describing it. So it sounds like a great day.
Well, and that's where the past can serve. If you've got something that is a great, good feeling, there's a technique called quick coherence, and I won't go, we're closing up, but that's what you do. You create a time when you feel really good inside. Maybe you're that ex-athlete, you're all grown up and you want to remember what it was like when you crossed the finish line and made that time that is still not broken. It's your high school record, whatever it is, it's a good feeling when we get in alignment with that. That is palpable. And that's what you create success in your present moment.
100%. That's, as you said, we are wrapping up, but that is actually part of something that I teach my athletes. When we reset, we go back to moments just like that.
Yeah.
You do a little exercise of reflection, and they love that. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. So we might have to do a whole episode on that. We could talk forever, Namcy. But thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom. And I hope that my listeners not only steal it, but also connect with you. Thank you again for being here today.
Thank you so much, Kate. It was a delight.
Thank you. And everyone who is listening, we hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, crush your week, and definitely go down, click on those show links, connect with Namcy, and send me a message. Tell me what you loved about this episode. We are rooting for you always.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.